looks like whichever parent Classic is on, he's like the stabilizing force on that. Is that a nice gadget to have, even as a young player?
Yeah, and I think even last game it didn't take him very long to get going. I think in the third period there was one shift by the penalty box. They turned the puck over 3 times because he turned it over. He had such a great stick and a good gap, and he's such an agile skater for the size of him that he's frustrating to play against. So, that just makes it easier for whoever's playing with him, and he looks confident and he can break the puck out well. He does pretty much everything well. He even had a couple shots in the second period. I think he had at least 3 in the second period. So that shooting mindset, it would be nice for that to filter through to our defensemen. Like, don't hold on to it. Get it to the net if you see a stick or a body down there. And, his all-around game is really developing well. And he worked on it all last year. We just saw a little bit of it up here. But he put a lot of work in over the last 2 years, and it's really showing. So we're benefiting from it, and I think whoever plays with him, you're right, benefits from it.
I know things can change, but how much does it help that Connor's played with Nick and Phil here for a little bit and kind of had that line stability?
Yeah, and I think, playing with Taylor at the beginning, like training camp in the beginning, I think they have had a lot of communication, so that makes sense to kind of keep that going even sometimes. And they're going to be on the ice probably 4-on-4 and 3-on-3 in overtime together, so they're going to have to build some chemistry there. But yeah, the other guys, Nick and Kershey, really not that Connor doesn't do the work, but those guys are experienced and they kind of know how to do some work and get in on forechecks and do stuff at this level and are in his ear on the bench, like, this is where I'm going to be and this is where we want you to be if we can do some of this work and get you some opportunities. I think we saw it a couple times on the forecheck, once in the first period where Connor had a nice low chance, and then Nick chased the guy out from behind the net, stole the puck, and Connor was right in that little soft spot, and goalie had to lunge and make a shoulder save. So he had some good looks from his line mates last game. So, I think, good players seem to build chemistry fast, and that's what's happened there.
We asked you about the longer shifts last game, and I was looking, Connor is 3rd in the league with the shift time at 60 seconds. Do you like that? He is one of your best players, or do you want him to get that down a little bit?
It'd be probably ideally to get down. I think what it is if he's has the puck in the O zone and he's feeling good and you're making the other team work and he's moving a lot, it's not a lot of stopping and starting. It's a lot easier to have a longer shift than it is when it's in the D zone. It's making the right decision at the end of that shift so he doesn't, let's say, turn a puck over at high in our offensive zone and then he's got to back check and play D zone, which he doesn't. Who wants to play in the D zone all game? And then especially in the second period, and it ends up being a minute 45-second shift. Well, then that really distorts like your ice times, but it also tires you out, and it makes our team look scrambly and the players scrambly. So I think he's got to just make sure he makes really good decisions when he's in the offensive zone, which he does on the most part. But it's when, let's say, there's a game we're down 2-1, 3-1. There's lots of time left. We don't need to win the game with 15 minutes left on one play. We have to make the right decisions so we don't put the other 4 guys, or when we change on a back check or the guy coming on the ice, put them in a bit of a hostile environment. So that's what we're really looking at more than the actual number. But the number usually dictates your decision making. It keeps you out on the ice because you made a poor decision at the end of your shift, so it forced you to stay out there another 30 seconds if you're lucky enough not to get scored on.
You've been on these mom and dad trips over the years. Is there anything you've observed how they impact the team, and does the team try to win one for mom, any kind of psychological effect?
Yeah, I think this is my first mom's trip, actually. Over the years, I just always changed teams, and Montreal didn't do it at all, so... but what I've seen on these types of trips is a lot of camaraderie with players with their parents or siblings or mentors, whoever comes, and seeing them mix together with the other people, then telling stories, and that's how you really grow and get to know each other. And it's a bit of an intimate thing where people are as close as people are to you, they still don't know your lifestyle, and it's hard to kind of explain it. And sometimes, you know, we complain about the schedule and the travel, but when they come and they see us staying at the Four Seasons and on a private jet, they don't really think, they don't have any sympathy for you anymore. But you know, when you put it together, like you do it over 50 times a year with the exhibition games, and if you get lucky enough to get into the playoffs, it's a long grind. So I think it's good for them to kind of see the hustle of getting to a plane, taking off, and getting on a bus and going somewhere. The schedule it's a lot, and so it's great for the people in your world to understand what you do. And well, why don't they're only playing for these 3 hours? Why can't they call me at this time? Well, there's a meeting, and then there's a team meal, and then there's a bus. That's why. And you know, we're not on the phones on the bus, so it's really good information for the closest people around you to get, and then they obviously have those conversations with other people around. But I do think that there's an extra jump in the step, like in the players. They really want to have a good time on this trip and really want to host their guests properly, their mom or their dad or whoever it is. And it's always fun. And I've always seemed been lucky enough to have pretty good success on these trips, so I would like to keep those numbers rolling.
What's a coach's role after an all-player meeting? Are you digging much into what was said, or are you letting them do their own?
No. Really, it's I've said what I needed to say before the game and in between periods. After the game, it's over. Like, we take our time and watch video and discuss things yesterday and after the game for today's viewpoint of how can we get a little bit better from last game. And I mean, I think the heat of the moment after the game, they're disappointed they lost. They should be exhausted from the effort they put out. And what am I going to say at that moment that's going to impact Thursday? Like, to me, I don't think there's really anything I can go in and say that's going to impact the next game. So for them, from their peers, I think it goes a lot farther. And they probably just touched on a few areas that we would probably say anyway. So I don't even want to dive into what they said. I like them to control that locker room. That's their area. We just kind of come in and try and give them a game plan that suits, that we think best for them. And we're happy to have dialogue with them all the time, and we do sometimes. But that dressing room, when we leave, it's up to them to be motivated to go on that ice. It's up to them to take control of their life and this opportunity that they have. And we're happy that they have that meeting, or they say a few things even after the coach leaves, even if the guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And you know what I mean? You know, not system-wise, but because we all have to play the same system, but you know, maybe the wrong time to be a little upset, or the wrong time not to be upset. So I think for them to take that on themselves is a really good thing.
Do you know if the meeting
Take one more for Lou.
in the room, or was it while they were working out? Do you know?
I don't know, but I would assume it was probably right away. Usually the door closes as soon as the last person comes in, and they ask the trainers to step out, and it's usually just the players. And that's a good thing. I like that. And you know, there should be some accountability amongst themselves, not just the coaches showing corrections or good things on the video and talking about them. It should be them discussing that and being able to take a breath and absorb it, and then, you know, pat someone on the back or give them a boot in the ass to get going, or whatever it is. Either way, and they should be able to do that and accept it as peers and get better.